All right, ready for the next one?
Yep, you're up on this one. I hope you're tracking.
I'm up. Okay.
I hope you're tracking. That was number 7.
I'm tracking.
So
we're going to get to. All right.
We did herbs. We did breath work. We did meditation. So you can choose from whatever you want.
All right. So
the 6th way to raise consciousness is noble movement. Noble movement.
Noble movement. Noble movement is our ability to use exercise to increase our impact, our service, our mobility, our emotional balance, so that we can age and have the legacy and impact that we want. So noble movement uses short 5 to 15 minute exercise sets that are informed by ancient mind-body exercise and modern peak performance exercise combined together. So an example would be, before this call, I guided another private Facebook group through a morning ritual. And my favorite thing to do that is a huge game changer is I drop out of bed onto a yoga mat and I go right into a plank series. So I do front plank, go into downward dog. I do side plank, downward dog, other side, downward dog. And I go through 8 sets of plank. And what's happening is I'm strengthening my core. I'm breathing deeply. When I go into downward dog, I'm stretching my hamstrings, my glutes, my Achilles, preparing for running or martial arts training later in the day. So I'm lengthening muscles, strengthening muscles, increasing muscle tone, and I'm connecting to my higher why. So that's what noble movement is. It's about, there's never an excuse when you learn noble movement that you can't get to the gym or you don't have time for a vinyasa yoga class. No, if you have a mat or a place to stand, you can do noble movement. And then Alex, anything you want to?
No, I think that covers it. It's just like, okay, maybe you're not going to go to the gym today and burn an hour and a half on the Stairmaster, like sweating away, you know, but maybe you got 5 to 15 minutes and it's like, what can you do? And do you invest that 5 to 15 minutes in doing something, because that cumulatively over the course of a month or a year is going to make a tremendous difference in your physical health and vitality. So that's it.
Yeah. And Brendan Bouchard, who runs this thing called High Performance Academy, he presented some research last time I went. It was saying that executives that take a 5-minute break for movement every hour are 30 to 50% more productive. So if you were to microdose 5-minute Tabatas into your day, they can be jumping jacks, they can be push-ups, they can be like punching and yelling in like a horse stance to get emotion out. You can do qigong movements, you can do a breath work set. If you do that every hour for 5 minutes, you will get 30 to 50% more done in that hour. That means you could probably work half a day and get the same amount as you would get done in a day. And I want to say this, here's the trap. And we're kind of jumping to the end, but here's the trap. The trap is your mind will tell you 5 minutes is too short a time to have an effect. Your mind will tell you breath, something as simple as my breath, can't be a profound influence on my life, my quality of life, my impact. So it's the trick. It's like God has hidden himself or herself within us. And the idea is like, I have to look everywhere else for it. It has to be a big thing. It has to be this or that. But actually, these micro practices inside yourself can make the hugest difference. So, yeah.
Boom. Well said.
Yeah. The number 5 way to raise your vibration: shadow work.
So, shadow work. It's working on what you don't know you don't know. It's expanding your awareness into those places in your life where you are operating unconsciously, usually because of unresolved wounds within your relationship to yourself. You have to call 3 friends, 3 very good friends of yours, and you need to reach out to them and ask, like, yo, what are the things that I cannot see about myself? How am I showing up in ways that may be unconscious? How have I hurt you? How have I if you could give me the most honest, candid feedback about me and what it's like to be a friend of mine in terms of things that maybe I'm not aware that I do, give it to me, because that's how you can love me right now. And think about the power of those conversations with those people you trust, and how that might both humble you and give you the thing to work on that's actually in your way.
Right. And
yeah.
what do you think it does to the intimacy and connection between you and that person? Because most of our close friends are holding back what they really want to tell us because they think not everybody, but some of us have created a energetic signal to our friends that we're not willing to hear that stuff. We're not strong enough, or we're not interested enough. And they fear, even they love us, that to tell us that might damage our relationship with them. Or for God's, here's another one. If you tell me about my shadow, guess what? I might want to tell you about your shadow, right? That's another fear of giving feedback sometimes, is that, you know, you're like, I'm not perfect. Why should I judge them? Let them figure it out on their own. And yet it is the greatest gift we can give people, is to be able to get into that shadow. Now, I want to just share another piece of it. Another way shadow shows up is, especially in law of attraction, new age culture, is that negative thinking, negative emotions are damaging, are unuseful. You're not spiritual if you have negative emotions. There are all these beliefs out there. And what that can do for some people is lead them to spiritual and intellectual bypass, where they're not willing to go into the muddy soup of their childhood, of their wounds, of their negative emotions. And the problem with that is, on the other side of your anger is your power. On the other side of your ability to step out in front of people, your courage, there's shame on the other side of that, right? And so you're holding, if you're not willing to get into those dark emotions, then you won't get the power, the superpowers that are connected to them on the other side.
The fourth way to increase your vibration: heart intelligence and flow states.
Yes. In the system of peak performance and human potential that I teach, Pathway of Power, heart intelligence and flow states is the pinnacle of the pyramid. And there are a lot of fundamental practices that, when they're in place, they lead us to be able to generate positive, resourceful, emotional states on demand. On demand. Like, I believe that's one of the greatest superpowers. Can you be faced with someone pressing your buttons? Can you be faced with a day that has more on your task schedule than you want? And can you still be happy? Because if you do, you access your higher cognitive functions, you increase your immunity, and you end up making better decisions. Now, most people on a good day can access positive emotions. Most people on an average day have trouble, and most people on a bad day cannot access their positive emotional states. Yeah, and the other side is flow states. Alex, talk to us about flow states, if you like.
First of all, like, what is a flow state? It's when your brainwave patterns go from a very jagged, all over the place beta wave, which is like checking your phone, driving in traffic, like wanting the day, like, you know, just kind of going about your everyday life, and then getting into alpha state. And alpha state allows you to perform, especially in athletics, especially in creativity, in a lot of like pursuits at a much higher level. And you know, athletes, when they're like in the game time and they're just like effortlessly moving around, just in the zone, right? Like, there's no hesitation, there's no anxiety, they're just like seeing and reacting, seeing and reacting, seeing and reacting. That's alpha state. So yeah, basically, the more you can stay in that brainwave state, the more effective you're going to be throughout your day.
Yeah. Alex, you mind if I share a little story here?
Yeah, go for it.
Okay. So there's an author out there. He's a journalist. His name's Stephen Coulter. If I'm pronouncing it wrong, I apologize. Have yet the pleasure to meet this guy. He wrote the book, The Rise of Superman. And he was this reporter who had gotten some kind of chronic illness, and he was just at home. He was in pain, and the prognosis was not looking good. And a lot of pain in his body. Somebody came along and pulled him out of his house and dragged him down to the beach and took him surfing. Huge surfboard, like a Cadillac, so he could get up on it. They kind of helped him. And that day, he caught one wave, and he was maybe up for just a few seconds. And they took him home that night, and he sat down on his couch. And for that afternoon, no pain. He felt better. He felt more himself. Now, it took him like a week or two to recover, and he drug himself out again, and he surfed again. This time he got up twice or three times. And so the gaps between the rest and the surfing got smaller and smaller until he had pretty much healed this chronic, unhealable disease, according to Western medicine. And he got really curious. He said, I did not know surfing was the cure for this chronic disease. I'd never read that before. I'm a journalist, So he started to research how the state of consciousness he was in while surfing could have impacted his body to heal that disease. And he wrote the book, The Rise of Superman. So yeah, flow states are worth the training to learn how to get into more often. So anyway, that's cool.